Good evening, everyone, and good morning to the others in the other part of the world. I'm Anagha Prasad, a professional storyteller from Bangalore. Been telling stories to young and the young at heart for the last 8 years, and it's been very, very overwhelming, healing, and of course, I've grown with all these stories. I also dance. I'm a Bharatanatyam classical dancer and also teach yoga. Today's story was I took the story from a book written by Cecilia Ahern called The Roar, which has 30 stories. And this book was gifted to me by a very, very dear friend who also happens to be my therapist. And I chose one of this because it really touched my heart. And here it goes. It's adapted. So I've adapted from the story to suit myself. It was getting quite late. The whole day was full of chores of the three kids, the errands, running around, and she just had to get ready. But along with her three kids, she had two more who had just piled on, her neighbor's kids, who had very pleasantly asked, "Can you look after them too?" She couldn't say a no. And luckily, thank God, it was dinner time. She gave all the five of them dinner, made them sit there, and then started. Dashed to the bathroom to get herself ready. Looked at the watch. Oof, I have 10 more minutes, is what she thought. But the phone began to ring, and it was the taxi driver who had arrived 5 minutes early. She just got ready, dashed down, told, "Take care," to the babysitter, and just ran. The taxi driver said, "I have been waiting for 10 minutes. Why are you so late? I'm going to charge you." Oh, no, no, no. I have been only 5 minutes late. And with that argument, the taxi started and she reached the destination, a restaurant. Yes, she was going out for a dinner after a very, very long time without her tentacles, her children. She rushed in. And as she went in, she felt very hot. Her head was so hot with the blow dryer that she had used. She was feeling very hot for the dupatta around her, a scarf around her neck. And as she had got out of the taxi, the cold air and the cold air conditioning of the hotel, she looked at the person who was looking at her, read the badge, and said, "Hello, Mr. Max. I'm, yeah, I know you're here for dinner. Uh, what did you just ask me?" She said. "Well, ma'am, I just want to know what's the name that you've booked." Well, she was blank. She couldn't remember her name. Well, I had a table booked for two. I know, ma'am, you have a table booked for two, but what's your name? I'm only 5 minutes. I know you're 5 minutes late, but can you please tell me your name? She just couldn't remember her name. She thought, let me go to my office, and mentally went to her office, her desk, everything. And there was no nameplate. She thought, let me think, how do I talk to my colleagues? And all she could say, "Will you help me make a call? Will you help me write the email? Will you finish this?" And there was no clue of her name. She went back home, and all she could hear her three children saying, "Mummy, where are you? Mummy, can you do this? Mummy, where's that?" She looked at Mr. Max and said, "Well, is it booked under the name Mummy?" "Are you joking, miss? How can your name be Mummy? Tell me your name." "Well, I don't seem to remember my name. There are three tables booked for 8 o'clock and three tables booked for 2. Well, there's already one table where there's somebody. Maybe you can go meet him and then you'll remember your name." "Are you sure that's my table?" "Well, it's for you to figure out." And he took her to the table and seated. She sat there in front of a pretty handsome old man who looked at her and said, "Hello, Karen. I've been waiting for you." She heard Karen. That didn't seem like her name, but well, if he calls her Karen, maybe that's her name. Um, I've been waiting for quite some time to meet you. Oh, must be he was younger. How long is it since we have met? Well, I should have met you earlier. It's 3 months since Nancy passed away. Oh, your wife Nancy passed away? I'm so sorry. Yeah, she passed away, and this is exactly what my friends told, that I shouldn't be talking on the first date that I go out after her passing on. And now the woman who forgot her name was all sweaty. I'm on a date, and her husband's picture came to her mind. He was handsome. She was in love with her husband. She wouldn't cheat on him. Well, Mr. Nigel? No. Nick. Nick is my name. Well, I think you look. No, I'm just looking for you. We've had such amazing chats online. I'm sorry to stop you, Mr. Nigel. No, Nick. I think I am not the right person for you. And she got up and walked. You walking on me? And as she just went, Max, the restaurant manager, got another beautiful woman who was the age of Mr. Nick and said, "There, that's Karen." The woman who forgot her name was relieved. She went to the reception desk, looked at Max, and said, "You must be having fun, isn't it?" And she peeped into that register, and he covered it and said, I won't allow you to see it. You tell me your name now. Well, can you give me a clue? Of course not. There are two tables. Table number 7 already has a woman. Table number 8 has no one. For if they don't come in the next 10 minutes, I'll have to let that table go. Well, maybe I am here and it's already 10 minutes since. Well. You have to tell me your name if you have to get that table, isn't it? Um, Try going to that table number 7. Maybe she might help you remember it. She looked at the table. There was a woman sitting there. Oh my God. She was dressed in a beautiful black sari with a row of diamonds and huge stones on her ear, looking impeccable. Her hair was in place. The woman who forgot her name looked at herself. She had hurriedly put something on. She looked like a mess. She didn't want to go meet that woman, but Max kind of pushed her there. She went and said, "Hello? Hey, you must be Payal." Payal? That doesn't ring anything in her mind. But then she had forgotten. She said, "Well, you are, I am Mrs. Chowdhury. I've been waiting for you." "Oh, is that so? Okay, what can I do for you?" Well, I have to tell you, right? Why I'm waiting? For the last 30 years, I have been in the perfume industry, making the best perfumes. Luxury is my second name. The woman who forgot her name thought, "It shows that luxury is the second name. Look at how you look and look at how I am. I guess mess is my first name." But um, but why did you want to meet me? Well, I'm in kind of a situation. I've always made this best sense which are out of ordinary. The woman who forgot the name said, "Why out of ordinary? What's wrong with ordinary?" Well, ordinary scents are the best, isn't it? When you remember the smell of the rain, it takes you back to so many memories, and that is extraordinary. When you smell probably the rasam, the soup that your mother makes, that brings in so many memories, and that's extraordinary. I think the smells that bring in memories are the best. Like, when I met my husband, he smelled of marshmallows. And when I gave birth to my 3 milk smelling marshmallow babies, all I could think of were those 3 whenever I smelled marshmallows. "That's it," said Mrs. Chowdhury. "I think I've got my answer. champagne was the scent that I was working on, and I couldn't know what to match it with. I was looking for something exotic, but marshmallow being so ordinary, champagne and marshmallow, oh, how they blend, isn't it? That's what I think my sister will want. Thank you, Mrs. Payal. And she walked away. Well, are you not going to stay? No. Please don't mind. I don't want to stay for dinner. And that woman walked away. Max was a little miffed. Came and said, what did you tell that rich woman walked away? What about my dinner? And there she saw Mrs. Erstwhile there. That's Mrs. Erstwhile. The woman who forgot the name looked at Max and said, Mrs. Erstwhile, do I ever look like a non-Indian? You knew I was not for that table, right? Why did you send me there? Isn't this fun? Experimenting with a lot of other people? Ha ha! Now. That's the table. But can I peep into that? Hey, please. Only one is remaining. Tell me, no, what's the name? That table is still vacant. Maybe you can go sit there and the person who comes there will remind you. But what if that person doesn't remind me of anything? What if I don't remember my name? Well, you can go back home and your family will remind you. Do you at least remember the address? And plang! The address just flashed in her memory. Thank God I remember my address. I remember my husband. He will tell me what my name is, apart from baby sexy that he calls me. She went and sat on that table and she waited. Who is gonna come? Will I remember? Huh? And as she was thinking, she saw the door of the restaurant open. She looked, and Max looked at her with a concern in his eyes. Will you remember? He didn't utter it, but it said it. She felt warm that he was concerned about her. She looked at the woman who had just walked in, clad in a beautiful pink starched cotton sari with a pearl of strings. And as she looked at her, she remembered her name and she remembered everything. For that woman was the woman who had seen her first in her life, who had lifted her for the first time, who had given her her name. Hi, Mom! Come! It's been a long time since we have met and just had time for ourselves. Thank you. That's the story that I wanted to say. The woman who forgot her name. I mean, it's adapted slightly to our Indian scenario because I couldn't remember those English names and it didn't come very easily to me and I would get stuck. So I just used these names in between. So that's the story.
Okay, wonderful. Do we get to find out her name or that's not important?
No, that's not important because she found out, she got herself back through her mom. So yeah.
From seeing her mother.
Yes.
Great.
Wonderful. I love it.
So you are very expert in looking at the camera, and it's just mesmerizing. I couldn't look away from you because it seemed that you were looking at me.
Thank you.
And it's like you can't put a book down. I couldn't move my eyes away.
Thank you so much.
Acting was very strong, and excuse me, as I often like to point out, when a storyteller plays a character, the listeners are automatically in the role of the character who is being addressed. So we get a real emotional workout from being one character after another in relation to the character you are playing. So I found it very engaging storytelling.
Thank you so much.
Anybody have any other thoughts? You know, I like to keep 4 questions in mind after a storytelling. One is there anything about the story or the telling of it that you especially liked? Number two, is there any way that you might suggest where the story or the storytelling could be improved? Or do you want to add a scene? Are you not satisfied somehow with how it ended? And then number three, does it remind you of something else, either an experience or another story? And number four, everyone's favorite question, what takeaway do you get from it? What meaning? What's it all about? What's the message of the story, if there is a message? So does anyone want to comment on any four of those topics?
Well, I think I would like to add, I think for me it was the fourth one. When I read this story, it instantly kind of connected to me as to how we get lost in all the roles that we play in our lives, and losing ourselves even for those few moments. And then when we realize what we are and we've lost in those few moments, it's really overwhelming, and we work towards not losing, but we are just caught up in the whirlwind of life. So I think this was like a reminder for me to keep working on being in the present.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. May I say something?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
I thoroughly enjoyed the story. It was very visual. The children, her in the restaurant, I listened to it very closely, and it reminded me of a story that I want to put together. So thank you for the story.
Thank you so much.
I would like to say that I enjoyed the story very much.
What in particular, what aspect of it did you especially enjoy?
I like the way the suspense was kept up till the end. And but I really want to know the name of the lady very much, Anagha.
I would say I think the name of the lady is our own names. That's how
Okay.
I did not want
Okay.
to say Anagha, but I just wanted to leave it. But I would just end probably a PS note saying the name of the lady is our name.
Okay. You kept up the suspense very well. Thank you. I loved listening to it.
Thank you.
It's probably a medical condition to forget one's own name. Is there a name for that condition?
No idea. I think we should look it up.
Mm-hmm. And then in the story, is there anything that triggers her? Is there any cause identified for her not knowing her name?
Nothing. They just talk about, Max just casually mentions that you're just forgetful and nothing else. So
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can glean some clues from the beginning part of the story. It seems that she's got an overly busy, highly programmed life. And I think there's some kind of commentary on contemporary life in that.
Mm-hmm. We forget who we are if we're running around too much and doing too many things.
But there's there's still the absurdist aspect of it in the story, which makes it delightful.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a metaphor. Forgetting the name is a metaphor which Anagha has beautifully presented. It is more of forgetting our identity because we kind of blend it with identifying it with other roles, different roles and the different hats we put on. Beautiful, beautiful.
That's right. She didn't just forget her name. She forgot her role, forgot who she was, forgot her identity. Although she had hints, she knew that she was not in a position to be having a date with another man.
yeah.
I liked it a lot. And I liked, besides what everybody else said, there was a beautiful flow to it. There was a lot of action and you had a lot of sensory cues in it. And it just kept going. It was like a rolling. I loved that. It was a beautiful story. Thank you.
Yeah, there was a strong sense of reality to it, which I really enjoy in storytelling.
I agree, and I thought it was it was kind of a unique story. We don't hear stories like that very often that are contemporary and kind of told in a very short time frame. And I apologize, my signal came and went, so I missed parts of it. But I loved the feeling. It almost felt like a farce, you know, and all kind of compressed in time, and very contemporary and very real, but also with some kind of almost absurd feeling to it.
You know what? It reminded me when I was a young mother. I certainly had at times when I left the house and I was so upset or so confused that I didn't know who I was. I don't think there's a name for the condition. I think it's called over-focused, and then all of a sudden, what do you do?
It's called
I think it's really
parenthood.
good to tell moms.
It's called parenthood. I think I love what Bruce just said.
Okay.
And I think before we end, I think I would like to, like how I mentioned, I would like to thank Lakshmi for introducing me to this book, which has 30 stories which are on similar lines but touching different aspects of our life. So if any of you can put a hand on that book, it's called Roar by Cecilia Ahern. I would really encourage all of you to go ahead and read it. And the way she's written is even more better than the way I have narrated it. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Thank
What's
you
it
very
called?
much.
Roar, R-O-A-R.
Like a tiger, like a
Yeah.
lion.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.